You think you live as a single, unified self. One consciousness, one will, one identity. But what if that's an illusion? In the 1960s, there were patients whose corpus callosum was severed to treat severe epilepsy. A surgeon's blade cut the only bridge connecting the left and right hemispheres of the brain. And in that moment, scientists would witness something they never expected. What the left hand knew, the right hand did not. Within the same person, different information, different perceptions existed simultaneously. This is not a metaphor. This is the reality neuroscience revealed. Today, I want to explore together the nature of the self as questioned by the split brain. By the time you finish this video, the way you see what it means to be you may be fundamentally transformed. Chapter 1. One brain, two worlds. Your brain is divided into a left and a right hemisphere. Many of you already know this, but have you ever stopped to consider how intimately these two halves cooperate in ordinary life? A structure called the corpus callosum connects the two hemispheres. An estimated 200 to 300 million nerve fibers bundle together, exchanging vast amounts of information. Because of this, we are able to function as a single, unified self. An epileptic seizure begins in one hemisphere and spreads to the other through the corpus callosum. So the reasoning went, if we sever that bridge, perhaps the seizure won't spread. From this idea, the corpus callosotomy was born. The surgery succeeded. Seizures were dramatically reduced. Yet after the operation, the patients appeared normal in daily life, at least on the surface. Sperry and Gazzaniga conducted a remarkable experiment. While patients held their gaze on a fixed point, the word apple was flashed for just a moment on the left side of a screen. The patient said they saw nothing, but when asked to use their left hand, they accurately selected an apple. Information from the left visual field is processed primarily by the right hemisphere, making it difficult to reach the language-dominant left hemisphere. So the right hemisphere had seen, but the left hemisphere did not know. Within the same person, a self with access to the information and a self without it existed at the same time. Think about this for a moment. When you say, "I don't know," do you truly not know? Or is it possible that one part of you has access, while another part simply hasn't received it? In 1981, Sperry was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine for this research on cerebral hemisphere specialization. Split brain research powerfully suggested that under specific conditions, the two hemispheres appear to process information separately. But the real mystery begins here. Let's venture deeper into what this discovery means for our very concept of consciousness. Chapter 2. The Self That Speaks and the Self That Cannot. The left and right hemispheres, though part of the same brain, tend to specialize differently. Generally, especially in right-handed individuals, language processing tends to be left hemisphere dominant, while spatial attention and facial recognition tend toward right hemisphere dominance, a pattern known as lateralization. But this is not an absolute division, and individual variation is significant. So what happens when the dialogue between left and right is severed? When two specialists can no longer consult each other, what emerges? Split-brain patients gave us the answer, embodied in their very actions. Present a spatial puzzle to the right hemisphere. The patient's left hand solves it accurately. But when asked how they solved it, the left hemisphere, the verbal self, says it doesn't know. The self with access to the information and the self capable of speaking about it are separated. Something similar happens in everyday life. There are moments when intuition delivers the right answer, yet we can't find the words to explain why. Split brain research may have made this mechanism visible in its most extreme form. Gazzaniga discovered an even more remarkable phenomenon. When the visual field was controlled so that a command equivalent to stand up reached only the right hemisphere, the patient would quietly rise from their seat. When asked why they stood, the left hemisphere answered immediately, "I just felt like stretching." The left hemisphere did not know the reason for the right hemisphere's action. Yet it did not say it didn't know. Instead, it instantly constructed a plausible story. Gazzaniga called this tendency of the left hemisphere the interpreter, a function that retroactively assigns causal narratives to actions. Let's think about what this means. When you say, "I did this because I wanted to," Is that an explanation of the action? Or is it simply a story the left hemisphere constructed after the fact? Within a single brain, there exists a self that acts and a self that narrates. And these two do not necessarily share the same knowledge. Yet every day, we live with complete confidence that we have reasons for what we do. Let's push this question further. If different information systems exist within one body, where is the I located? Or, perhaps, does the self not exist in the form we imagined? Chapter 3. The Question of a Unified Self. The stories of split-brain patients may seem like a world apart from our own. Yet what neuroscience suggests is that even in a healthy brain, multiple systems may be running in parallel. The singular I we experience may emerge as a result of integrating and interpreting all of those systems. Here I want to add an important nuance. Many split-brain patients behave as coherent personalities in daily life. The breakdown in interhemispheric information sharing only appears under specific experimental conditions, when the brain is asked to perform in ways it ordinarily is not. In 2017, neuroscientist Pinto and colleagues re-examined split-brain patients in careful detail. The patients could not verbally report stimuli presented to the left visual field. Yet when asked whether they saw anything at all, they could correctly report that they had. A new interpretation was proposed. Even when information transfer is blocked, the conscious experience itself may remain unified. In other words, split-brain research has not settled the question of whether there are two consciousnesses. Rather, it suggests that information access and conscious experience may operate at different levels. The brain may be creating integration far more skillfully than we ever imagined. The philosopher Derek Parfit took the split-brain cases seriously. He asked, if the two hemispheres were separated, which one would be the real me? The left brain or the right? Or neither? Parfit's answer was provocative. There is no unified entity, called I. What exists is only a chain of connected events and processes. The self may not be a substance, it may be a pattern. Here, a fascinating resonance emerges. The Buddhist concept of anatta, the insight, articulated 500 years ago, that questions the notion of a fixed self, shares with some modern theories of mind a common question. What if a rigid, permanent self is an illusion? The methodologies and evidentiary frameworks are entirely different. Yet there are moments when the questions they ask converge. But I want to pause here and consider something. Even if the self is a pattern or a narrative, something is undeniably here in this moment, asking these questions. What should we call that something? What split-brain research revealed may not be the simple story of the self splitting in two. Rather, it may be that the boundaries of what we call I are far more fluid and context-dependent than we ever thought. The question of consciousness is an ongoing mystery, one that science continues to revise. And still, the question remains, what is the nature of this something that narrates, that questions, that feels wonder? And we find ourselves facing a new question. Let's bring together what this exploration has revealed. Chapter 4. A Shift in Understanding. Today, we've explored the nature of the self as questioned by the split brain. What the patients with severed corpus callosum showed us is the astonishing fact that information access can differ within a single body. And science is still asking whether consciousness in such cases is two or one. Let me share 3 insights drawn from today's exploration. First, information access can be divided. In patients with a severed corpus callosum, the left and right hands operate on different information. Within the same body, 2 cognitive systems accessed separate data. The certainty of I know may be nothing more than the product of information integration within the brain. Second, the narrating brain constructs stories. The interpreter function of the left hemisphere, discovered by Gazzaniga, instantly assigns plausible reasons even to actions the hemisphere had no part in. This means some of our reasons and motivations may be explanations constructed after the fact. Third, the boundaries of the self are unstable. Split-brain research, philosophy, and new experimental findings since 2017 continue to revise the answer to the question of what the self is. The I may not be a fixed entity. It may be a dynamic pattern that the brain generates in response to circumstance. These three insights do not stand apart from one another. Each converges on a single question: what is the I? And the answer to that question is still being updated, with science and philosophy walking forward together. I'll be direct. While preparing this video, I found myself stopping again and again. The question of whether this very sense of "I am thinking right now" might itself be the product of dynamic integration generated by the brain, it shakes something fundamental. And yet the feeling that arose wasn't anxiety. It was something closer to wonder and awe. This discovery does not diminish us. Rather, it tells us that the self is far deeper, more complex, and more unexplored than we ever imagined. The more humble we become before the mystery, the more beautiful it grows. Here's what I want to ask you. If the I is a dynamic pattern woven by the brain, what does this sensation right now, in this moment, of choosing, feeling, and questioning actually mean? And those moments when you just feel you understand something without words, that may be a signal from a separate information processing system that cannot speak. There are no answers to these questions yet, but I believe that continuing to ask is the only path that brings us, step by step, closer to the mystery of consciousness. After this video ends, when you return to everyday life, try being just a little more aware. In the moment you think, "I did that because I wanted to," was that truly a choice or a story the brain constructed after it had already begun to act? Or when an intuition or an unnameable feeling surfaces, that may be a sign that an information processing system separate from your verbal self is at work. Questioning the I is not unsettling. It is intellectual liberation. Living with the mystery of the self is, I believe, a privilege reserved for those who choose to think. Share your insights in the comments below. Your questions are the force that moves this channel forward. Thank you for joining this intellectual journey all the way to the end. Mindshift is a channel that explores consciousness, the cosmos, and the nature of existence, questions humanity has wrestled with for ages through both science and philosophy. From questions like today's "What is the self?" to the mysteries of quantum mechanics, the nature of time, and the frontier between AI and consciousness, the exploration continues. Subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next intellectual journey. Your curiosity is what drives us forward. Until next time.